Still infertile? My son is not only a genius but also good-looking just like me. Then, let me introduce my son as well. What? Ryan was surprised, as he didn't expect me to have a son. We divorced 15 years ago. I unexpectedly ran into my ex-husband after 15 years. Moreover, I ran into him with the woman who was the reason for our divorce. When I was introduced to a son who was said to be 15 years old, I introduced my own son as well. Ryan didn't seem to think I had remarried. Since Ryan and I only had daughters together, he couldn't hide his surprise. However, as I tried to leave, Ryan and Emily started to boast as if to challenge me. Afterward, I came to know an unbelievable fact, turning the situation into a real showdown. My name is Mia, a 45-year-old divorcee. Now, I'm happily remarried. After remarrying, I had one more child, making us a happy family of 5 with 2 daughters and a son. The daughters are from my previous marriage. My son, now 14, is in middle school. His name is Michael. My eldest daughter's name is Lily, and my second daughter is named Alexis. Lily is 19 years old, and Alexis is 18 years old. Both my daughters and my son are my pride and joy. Lily is currently studying at a university in England, and Alexis attends a prestigious high school. They chose their paths themselves. As a parent, I have never interfered with their decisions. Influenced by his sisters, Michael grew up to be very curious, with a thirst for knowledge. Though they are only half-siblings, the 3 of them get along very well. My current husband's name is Jason. In his area of business, he's somewhat of a celebrity. This is my family now. Today, I was out shopping with Michael in preparation for his study abroad. Due to certain reasons, Michael wears a hat and mask outside. Nowadays, many people wear masks, so it doesn't feel out of place, but Michael stands out oddly because of his height. While shopping, it seemed Michael ran into an acquaintance. "Mom, can I stay in the cafe for a bit?" "Sure, I'll continue shopping then." With that, Michael entered a cafe. Despite being in middle school, Michael is quite mature and has many adult friends. I believe the person he met at the cafe is a university student. Thinking about this, I enjoyed shopping on my own for the first time in a while. Suddenly, I was approached by someone. "Aren't you Mia?" "What?" When I turned around, there stood a man I had hoped never to see again in my life. It was my former husband. His name is Ryan. He's 3 years older than me, so he must be around 48 now. "Hey. How have you been? You've really changed. You used to be so plain." "Is that so? Well, goodbye then." "Hey, wait a minute." I wanted to leave that place as quickly as possible. I had nothing more to discuss with Ryan. We met at a mixer. He was very proactive, and I, being serious and cautious, was drawn to him. Ryan pursued me aggressively. My friends warned me, "He's definitely a player, be careful," but I was flattered by the attention and got carried away. My feelings for him grew stronger. That's why I agreed to date him after our second date. Ryan was overjoyed, like a child who had just received a toy, and it made my heart flutter. I thought he was genuinely happy to be with me. He's not just flirting around but is someone who expresses his emotions honestly. That's what I believed. Looking back, I can only think, love is blind. Our relationship was going smoothly. At that time, I was still 25 and perhaps the appeal from an older man was enticing. However, Ryan was a social butterfly, always surrounded by women, which worried me. I think I was trying too hard to keep up. There were times when I was tired of trying to keep his affection. So, when Ryan proposed, I was moved to tears with happiness. I truly believed I could find happiness with him. Ryan and I wanted children right after we got married. We rented a 2-bedroom apartment with the future child in mind. I got pregnant soon after marriage. We were both thrilled. However, when the gender was revealed to Ryan and he said, "What? A girl? Seriously?" His face went pale, and he was visibly disappointed. "You wanted a boy?" "Of course. I don't want a girl." "Why not? Girls are cute too." "It's not about being cute. There's no joy in raising a girl." I can't believe this. I was shocked. Until then, I hadn't felt any major differences in our values, but this revealed a significant divergence. After that, he wouldn't even touch my belly. As my belly grew, I needed help, but he offered none. It became too hard for me, so I went back to my parents' house to prepare for childbirth. Then, my daughter was born. Ryan did not come when I gave birth to our daughter. My parents were furious about this. I stayed at my parents' house for about 3 months before returning home. But Ryan didn't welcome me back. His attitude was far from welcoming and was more like, "You're back already?" Even when I was feeding the baby, he said things loud enough for me to hear. Why did it have to be a girl? I wanted a boy. Don't say things like that, she's a lovely girl. She's not cute. Maybe the next one will be a boy? You better make sure it is. I researched extensively and did many things to increase the chances of having a boy. I even tried old superstitions and gender selection methods. The following year, I was pregnant again. But it was another girl. I was thrilled to have 2 girls, they were adorable. I dressed them in matching outfits and doted on them. But Ryan was cold towards our daughters. Hey, don't waste money, you bought more clothes, didn't you? They weren't that expensive. But buying 2 of the same outfit is extravagant. Gradually, Ryan began to take his frustrations out on me. Why can't you have a boy? There must be something wrong with you. Girls are great too. I want a boy. He would say such things in front of our daughters without hesitation, and I no longer wanted to talk about children with Ryan. I believe even small children can sense when they're being spoke about in such a way by their own father. I poured all the love of a father and mother into my daughters. Ryan's behavior escalated over time. When the children were playing inside the house, he would start yelling at them on a whim. This led to constant arguments between Ryan and me. Shut up. Go away. I'm tired from work. You're an eyesore. Hey. Don't talk like that. Why don't you play with them? They're not attached to me. They're not cute. How can you say that? Don't say such things in front of them. If they're not attached to you, it's because you don't try to engage with them. They won't understand. It's fine, they seem stupid anyway. I couldn't tolerate this. I took the children and went to my parents' house for a few days. I thought I wouldn't return until I received a call from Ryan. He called soon enough, but his first words were not an apology. You're neglecting your duties at home. Come back immediately. You should do it yourself. Do you know who's earning the money you live on? Do your job properly. Although it was frustrating for me, I was saving on work to raise the girls. Our living expenses were covered by my husband's earnings. I had no choice but to listen to his demands. I wanted to leave my daughters at my parents' house, but I couldn't impose on them any longer. I didn't want to be separated from my daughters either, so we all returned together. Finally back, huh? Get to cleaning. The house was a mess. Food was left out, trash was everywhere, and laundry was piled up. Lily, despite her young age, helped me clean up. Alexis tried to appease Ryan's mood. They were only 4 and 3 years old. While I knew something had to change, I was mostly just troubled about what to do. After some time, I returned to work. But with reduced hours, my earnings were lower than before. Dependent on Ryan, I endured it all for the sake of our livelihood. I lacked the courage to become a single mother with 2 daughters. However, Ryan's attitude towards our daughters only worsened. You're in the way. Go somewhere else when I have a day off. I witnessed him saying such things to our daughters. I thought to myself, this might be the limit. The word divorce crossed my mind. Realizing I would be lost if I just divorced him immediately, I first changed my job to prepare for the divorce. President Jackson at the firm was very sympathetic to my situation and accommodated me throughout the divorce process. It was right after I secured the job that the divorce became a reality. Hey, let's get a divorce. Ryan suddenly said that to me. I had been considering divorce too, but I was taken aback by the suddenness of it all. Since Ryan was also thinking about divorcing me, I saw it as an opportunity. I'll take custody of the girls. Sure. Take them. I felt uneasy about Ryan's attitude. Intuition led me to hire a detective agency. Actually, this was also a suggestion from Mr. Jackson, the president of my new workplace. He even advanced the money for it. Of course, I intended to pay him back later. He introduced me to a detective agency he knew. Then, the results came out immediately. Ryan had a mistress, apparently named Emily. She is a younger woman than me. I was shocked to learn that Emily was pregnant. That child is likely Ryan's. Hey, hurry up and sign the fill in the papers. Before that, there's something we need to discuss. I revealed everything I had learned from the detective agency. You've been snooping around behind my back? So what? Is that what matters now, after you've been deceiving us all this time? When I continued to confront Ryan out of sheer frustration, he started to lash out in retaliation. It's your fault for being a failure and only giving birth to girls. What did you say? Emily is having a boy, fulfilling my wishes, unlike you. It's natural I'd value her more. I'm asking why you had an affair before she even got pregnant. That's because I started seeing you as a failure and I had no desire for you. I'm attractive, women can't leave me alone. Ryan, without a hint of remorse, was justifying his infidelity. Moreover, he blamed me for only giving birth to girls. Such an absurd claim. I couldn't understand his obsession with having a boy. Why do you care so much about having a boy? Girls are stupid creatures with no earning potential, and they won't give anything back in the future. I hate the idea of continuing to spend money on them. I was so angry I felt like I was going to lose it. It was infuriating to have married a man who held such views, especially with the advances women have made today in society. I only asked for a fair share of our assets and finalized the divorce. The amount was just enough to repay the detective agency with a little extra left over. There was a reason for that. Above all, I wanted to get the divorce over with quickly for the sake of my children. Initially, Ryan was not satisfied with the proposed amount, and it seemed like we were heading for a divorce mediation involving lawyers. I wanted to distance myself from this man as soon as possible. I wanted to take my daughters away from his influence quickly. That was my top priority. Since then, I haven't met him even once. There were no requests for visits with my daughters. And now, here we are, meeting by chance. Ryan was not alone. Behind him stood Emily, his mistress from that time, and a boy who I assumed was the child conceived back then. Then, Emily approached me and looked me up and down. The boy, who was watching from behind, had a look of disgust on his face. I couldn't tell if he was looking at me or Emily. The boy seemed to be about the same age as Michael, probably in middle school. But the disdainful look he gave made me feel uncomfortable, even though I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. Oh, so this is Ryan's ex-wife? Wow. Emily looked me over as if assessing my worth, from head to toe. What do you want? Nothing. Ryan noticed my gaze shifting towards the boy. This is my son Jake, 15 years old. He'll be a high school student next year, accepted into a prestigious school as a special scholar. That's wonderful. Congratulations. I forced my best smile towards Jake. Surprisingly, Jake greeted me politely with a smile. He seemed like a reserved boy, wearing glasses, but it was clear he was handsome. Jake said something to Emily and then walked away. I couldn't help but stare at Ryan and Emily. What? Your son doesn't resemble either of you much. What? That's rude. I guess he looks a bit like his mother. I knew it was impolite to say such things. But he didn't look like Ryan at all. Wanting to leave, I decided not to say anything more. Well, I should be going. Wait. Are you still infertile? My son is not only a genius but is also good-looking just like me. Infertile? What are you talking about? I was so irritated that I stopped leaving. Because you're infertile, right? I don't understand what you mean. We have 2 daughters, remember? Humph. If you can't have a boy, it's the same as being infertile. I was dumbfounded by his absurd logic. Even after 15 years, nothing had changed about him, which was disappointing. My disappointment wasn't because I had high hopes, but rather it stemmed from a faint wish that he would show some decency as a human being. For my two daughters, he will always be their biological father, and I harbored a small hope that he wouldn't be spiteful towards them. However, that hope was shattered in this moment. Really, you haven't changed at all. What do you mean by that? Exactly as I said. Anyway, I finally have the son I've always wanted. Now I can truly be happy. That's great for you. I tried to leave again, but this couple seemed determined not to let me go so easily. Just as I thought they had more to say, Emily pulled out a photo. There was a picture of a boy, probably Jake. It was from when he was about 3 years old, striking a pose like a model. The photo was worn, indicating it was frequently carried around. He's cute. Right? He was a child model when he was little. Is that so? I responded with a smile, maintaining my facade, but my expression faltered at the words Emily spoke next. Well, your daughters must be plain, I guess. What did you say? Just saying. Saying so, she looked at me and gave a half smile. You don't know anything about my daughters, do you? I don't, but I can imagine. Don't make baseless comments. Emily began to boast about her son with a triumphant air, talking non-stop. She kept going on about how he was scouted in a park when he was young and how he's been receiving top-tier education from an early age. Even though I hadn't asked about any of it. I couldn't help but think to myself, what exactly is top-notch education, and who decides what qualifies as top-notch anyway? Being single must lower the educational standards, right? It narrows down what they can do, and that's just unfortunate for your children. Isn't it? At this point, even I reached the end of my patience. From what I'm hearing, it seems you're under some misconceptions. Misconceptions? First off, I've remarried. What? I remarried shortly after leaving you. I had worked tirelessly, carrying the burden of raising 2 children. I was prepared to face life as a single mother. Actually, my current husband is the president of the company I work for. He is the one who supported me through my divorce. He's an entrepreneur. The company I was with was newly established. He worked there only initially and has since handed over the presidency to someone else. My husband was the head of a conglomerate that holds several companies. I only found out about this after we started dating. What's your last name now? Jackson. Jackson, as in the Jackson Group. That's right. Emily was speechless, stunned. I haven't heard any of this. Why do I have to report to you? So, Lily and Alexis are? Of course, they're now part of the Jackson family. My husband adores them. I shared that Lily is currently attending a university abroad. When I mentioned the name of the university, Ryan seemed to recognize it, his face surprised as if he'd been slapped in the face. Lily plans to assist in my husband's business in the future, which is why she's studying business management abroad. You wouldn't have been able to afford to send them to England on your salary, so thanks for the divorce. What do you mean by that? Thanks to you divorcing me, I was able to meet my current husband. So, I have no hard feelings towards you. When I said this with a smile, Ryan's face twisted in frustration. But no matter how smart they are, for girls, looks are important, aren't they? Well, Lily was actually elected Miss University this year. Immediately, Ryan began searching for Lily's university and the Miss University title. On the screen appeared a beautiful woman in a white dress, identified as a Lily Jackson. Ah, that's Lily. No way. Good thing she doesn't take after her father. Emily's face twisted in frustration, just like Ryan's. But the eldest might just be a fluke, the younger one's probably a delinquent, right? It's always the younger daughter who goes astray. Alexis is doing great too. She's been accepted into H University. H University? Which high school did she go to? K High School. No way. That's even better than our child. Well, yes. But I think your son is remarkable too, being a scholarship student and all. Though, K High School is a girls' school. So he couldn't attend there. Emily seemed to want to say something but couldn't find the words, her face contorting instead. Competing over children's achievements is pointless. Glancing at Ryan, he seemed unable to hide his shock, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. However, when our eyes met, perhaps wanting to say something to me, he said this. You must have bribed the schools with your money. I couldn't let that comment slide. After all, she is his daughter, connected by blood. Those two decided on their own and worked hard to get admitted. They never even asked for tutoring. They were completely self-sufficient. Since I remarried, both Lily and Alexis were unable to become attached to their new father. They probably developed a habit of not relying on someone as a father figure. However, my husband made continuous efforts to connect with Lily and Alexis. Gradually, they began to see him as a real father. For Lily, being taken to her father's workplace seemed to be a turning point, as she came to us expressing her desire to study business management. It was then that my husband mentioned the name of a certain university abroad to Lily, who was still in middle school. He told her about the subjects she could study there and how she would be among friends from diverse international backgrounds. Lily researched where to go and what to study on her own to get into that university and ultimately chose her high school accordingly. After much hard work, she was admitted to her desired high school. We never interfered with their decisions. So, the first time she ever asked us for something was when she wanted to go to a university abroad. We were more than happy to fulfill Lily's wish. You mean she got into such a prestigious school without tutoring? That's what I've been saying. How much have I spent on my son's education? It's fine. He's grown up to be wonderful because of it. He'll surely repay you. Indeed. This couple seemed to expect some form of return from their child. I felt sorry for their son, burdened with such expectations. But then again, someone else's family matters are none of my business. But you had Alexis tutored, didn't you? I told you, no. Alexis grew up watching her sister and, though she hasn't found her passion yet, she's dedicated to her studies. She's currently obsessed with basketball. What's the point in doing something that won't make money? What does this man think children are for? Children are not raised just to bring in money. Hey, did you want a boy because you thought he would bring in money in the future? That's not what I meant. I could tell I'd hit the nail on the head. I was definitely right to have divorced this man. Just then, Michael called. I quickly told him where I was and ended the call. Is President Jackson coming? Why are you so excited? Well, I'd like to meet him. Emily's ulterior motives were obvious. Even if my husband were to come, I had no intention of introducing him to these people. No, I'm just meeting someone else. Goodbye. Wait. Are you running away? It's not exactly running away. That's when Michael arrived. Then let me introduce my son as well. What? Reluctantly, I introduced Michael to them. He was still wearing his hat and mask. Your son? Yes, he's the son I had with my current husband. He's in his second year of middle school. But you were always having girls. At Ryan's words, Michael seemed irritated and turned to me with a question. Mom, who are these rude people? They're my ex-husband and his wife. I see. Ryan, perhaps infuriated by Michael's attitude, started to get angry. What's with this rude kid? At least take off your hat and mask when greeting people. No, there's a reason he can't take it off. Then, Ryan started to smirk. I had a bad feeling about this. So he's too ugly to show his face? Your new husband must be ugly too. Your daughters turned out beautiful like me, but your son didn't, huh? What are you talking about? My husband is so handsome, he's been featured in magazines. What? Then he must look like you. That's right, it must be so. Poor thing, ended up being unattractive like the mother. It's such a waste, especially with that height. I couldn't believe they would say such things in front of a middle school student. Wanting to spare Michael from further exposure to these people, I was about to brush them off and leave when Michael suddenly took off his hat and mask. Yes, I apologize for not removing my hat and failing to greet you properly. At that, both Ryan and Emily were rendered speechless. Additionally, people passing by also stopped in their tracks. Are you? In fact, Michael was an up-and-coming actor. Despite his age, his mature, sweet look quickly gained him popularity. He is set to study at a middle school in England with an eye towards global expansion in the future. This story is so well known that it has been featured in online articles. In truth, it was influenced by his sister, but the media wrote it up as they pleased. His name is different. We changed it because his father is famous, and he didn't want to use that name. It's starting to get out, but please keep it quiet. Is he really your child? Not a stepchild? That's right. He was born right after we divorced. Yes, I remarried immediately after our divorce. No way, but you don't look alike at all. People often say that I look like Michael. He is definitely my son. Just then, Jake returned. Upon seeing Michael, Jake's face lit up with a smile. What's going on? Jake. It seems they know each other. You two know each other? Yeah, we do. Unexpectedly, the two of them knew each other. Michael had been attending the dance school Jake goes to for 2 weeks on his agent's advice. Because they were close in age, it seems they became good friends. So, does that make me and Jake half-brothers? When Michael said this, Jake became extremely angry. No. Don't even think I'd be the son of a man like that. This took me by surprise. Jake also seemed to regret what he said in the heat of the moment. Hey. Jake, what do you mean by that? Jake sighed and looked at Emily. Emily was desperately shaking her head. What in the world do you mean? Ignoring Emily's pleas to stop, Jake began to reveal a shocking truth to us. I am not this man's son. What are you saying, child? Jake glared at Ryan with a look of utter disdain. Although Ryan had always said he wanted a son, his moral character must have been rotten. It seems that Jake has disliked Ryan from a young age. All he ever does is complain about work, and he's always reeking of alcohol. There was nothing about him I could respect. Jake really hated the fact that such a man was his father. He confessed to his mother that he felt disgusted by the blood relation he shared with Ryan. Then, Emily confessed, it's okay. Your father is someone else. It seems she had sworn Jake to secrecy for the sake of their livelihood. What? What do you mean by that? No, there must be some mistake. Jake, please stop joking. Emily was clearly panicking. But our blood types are completely different. I'm type A, you two are both type O, aren't you? That's a lie. It's true. Then, pointing to a nearby blood donation poster, Jake said, why don't we go donate blood and check? Stop it. Emily screamed as if she was losing her composure. I see, so that's what it was. I finally understood why they didn't look alike. Jake was not his child. Probably, Emily was dating Ryan and another man at the time. However, she couldn't marry the other man. So, she told Ryan that she was pregnant with his child and persuaded him to marry her. Ryan, too, turned bright red as he learned the truth. He seemed to be trembling with anger. So, he's not my child? What do you mean by that? It's not like that. There's a reason for everything. What reason could there be? Ryan seemed not to care that there were people around. In fact, he probably couldn't even see them anymore. He was yelling at Emily loudly. So you've been deceiving me all this time. It's not like that. There's a reason for everything. But even though Jake isn't related by blood, he looked up to you as his real father. It doesn't look like he admires him at all. So you've always believed he was your son. But isn't it unusual not to notice for 15 years? Isn't that proof that you haven't been engaging with your child? Shut up. It's none of your business. That's right, it's none of my business, so I'll be leaving. Before I knew it, a crowd had gathered around us. I didn't want Michael to get involved in this mess, so I decided to leave Ryan and Emily arguing and walk away. It was convenient since many people were interested in the commotion. So, we'll be going now. Ryan, who seemed not to care about us anymore, was yelling at Emily, who was crying and begging for forgiveness. Only Jake said goodbye to us. It felt as if he was saying with his eyes, please leave while you can. We escaped in a nearby taxi. I'm sorry for making you feel uncomfortable. You're the one who had a tough time, right? I'm okay. Michael patted my back to comfort me. Days later, Michael seemed to have met with Jake and told me what happened afterwards. Ryan, furious at being deceived for 15 years, confronted Emily with a divorce. After a lot of arguing, they eventually got divorced. Emily, who had been a stay-at-home mom, didn't want to work and hence didn't want to divorce Ryan. Do you think I can really re-enter society now? That's not my problem. Ryan coldly brushed her off. Jake was initially taken by Emily, but unable to trust his mother either, he had his grandparents adopt him. The grandparents decided to cut ties with their daughter Emily, and she was no longer able to see her son. Of course, Jake also refused to see her. Emily is now doing day labor at a factory to make ends meet. Both Ryan and Emily ended up alone. Worried about his old age, Ryan repeatedly showed up in front of Jake. It's pitiful to talk about life after retirement with a middle schooler. Moreover, they're practically strangers now, with no blood relationship. Jake said he doesn't have any particular memories of playing with him or of him actively attending Jake's school events. So, he was troubled by the sudden fatherly facade. Later, Emily, rejected by her son, went to apologize to Ryan. Please, let's start over, just the two of us. How can I trust you? Never show your face to me again. Emily tried to cozy up to Ryan, saying she didn't want to be alone, but Ryan refused her. Ryan, on his part, had to work because he had to pay child support, even though he's not even my real son. Even though they were strangers, Jake was still legally his son, so paying child support was unavoidable. Jake's grandparents, who are very responsible, had a lawyer settle these matters. I was relieved to know that Jake was happy living with his grandparents. Still, I was a bit downhearted that such a matter was being dredged up again after 15 years. My husband and children were worried about me. I apologized to Michael for causing him discomfort because of me. However, Michael was surprisingly nonchalant about it. He told me it wasn't my fault and that what matters is the present. This is something my daughters often say, and it brought tears to my eyes. I don't know if I've been a good mother. But what I can say with pride is that all my children are wonderful. Currently, Michael is living abroad with his sister, Lily. He respects Lily a lot, and I think her influence was a big reason he went to England. When they returned for the holidays, Lily joked about him having a bit of a sister complex, which is troublesome. Seeing my husband and the 3 siblings together and happy, I felt a renewed sense of happiness. I don't know how many more times we can gather like this, but I want to cherish each and every occasion.